Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Astrology for 2024 chat. I guess that's what we're doing here. We're going to chat about the astrology for 2024. I really wanted to do this live on YouTube, and the technology just wasn't working with me. And so here we are. Instead, we're going to do it recorded, which is fine. Please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments. Or you can even email me, Betsy at fearlessintuition.net. My calendar is opening up February 1st. I will be sure to have all of the different chapters of this video down in the description box so it's easy to find throughout the year. Yeah, make sure that you check the description box for the website. The Wildlove Paradise Foundation is a foundation that my partner set up for to help myself and to help others who are living with cancer and are in vulnerable housing situations, financial situations. So all I ask is if you could just click on the link in the description box and take a look at the foundation and maybe donate, $5 or $10 can really go a long way when it comes to helping out a family. Sometimes we just need a little bit of community support, and that's what the Wildlove Paradise Foundation is all about. So let's take a look at the astrology. Let's just get into it. I didn't do any charts, you guys. This is the first time I've done something like this. So my what I do, my process, I guess you can call my process. What I do is I have an ephemeris. All astrologers should have an ephemeris, American ephemeris. I have an ephemeris, but I go through hour by hour from January 30 or December 31st, the year before, all the way to January 1st, the year after. So I've gone through every single hour of 2024. Sometimes that gets really exhausting and I might have missed some stuff. So I hope I didn't. Going across between the ephemeris and doing my hour by hour thing, I feel like I get a lot of stuff in. So we're going to start by talking about the big day. The big day. So January 20th is probably the biggest day in for the entire year. Yes, we're going to get it out of the way. It's kind of like that when we had it's nothing like the Saturn Pluto conjunction, but it's only like that in a sense where the big thing happens at the beginning of the year and then we just have to deal with the leftover, like the aftermath. That's what I want to call it, the aftermath. So January 20th, not only do we have the Sun conjunct Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn, we will have the Sun ingress Aquarius, and we will have Pluto ingress Aquarius. We will have Pluto ingress Aquarius on January 20th. This is the last time Pluto will regress back to Capricorn on September 2nd of this year. And then we'll do its final ingress to Aquarius for the 20 years. So Pluto in Aquarius, this is the last dip into Capricorn this year in 2024, settling in Aquarius November 19th, 2024, until January 19th, actually, of 2044. So for 20 years. The last time that Pluto was in Aquarius, you guys, was from 1778 to 1798. And some of the things that happened during that time frame, we had the American Revolutionary War. And the American Revolutionary War, that's where America became independent, and we got July 4th from, right? The 1776, right? Well, we were independent of that in 1776, and then Pluto ingressed Aquarius in 1778. But it was all because of, people didn't like the way that Britain was governing over the people, over the colonies, right? So that's why the American Revolutionary War happened to begin with, is because America wanted to be, break away from Britain. They didn't want to be a part of Britain's monarchy. Sounds kind of familiar with a lot of people. They don't like the way that this country is being run. Britain, I don't live in the UK, but I can only imagine how Gen Zers in Britain feel about the monarchy. I don't think that they're very fond of it. And we also found during the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, the French Revolution, away from Britain as well. And that actually started in and then the Industrial Revolution, which actually started in 1760 and lasted for a few decades or so, the Industrial Revolution. But that was like the biggest American revolution of technology, right? That was when the car was, Henry Ford invented the car. That's when the manufacturing plants were invented. That's when preservatives started being invented, refrigeration, I watch the American food history. And when I'm watching American food history, I learn a lot of things about like what kind of foods and stuff, and what was happening in the world during times of, these outer planets. And with Pluto and Aquarius, it was, cereal was invented, like just little things like that. The work day, it's the work week was invented as well. But that's something that with this Pluto and Aquarius might be changing because of the Capricorn, the Pluto in Capricorn. The destruction of Pluto is something that we forget about when we talk about the Pluto transits. And everybody is really excited for Pluto and Aquarius because they're like, yes, everything's going to change and everything is going to, be, things have to change, and the banks are all going to change, and the government's going to change, and everything's going to change. Humanity's going to change. And I have to let you guys, I have to remind you guys that change is it's very difficult for people to change. It's very difficult. Change is the one thing that we can depend on happening in our lives, transformation, right? So the destruction part of Pluto, the creating, ashes from something that was substantial, means that the structures that were built in Capricorn, and think about, so Pluto was in Capricorn from 2008 until 2023. And think about how many times the United States has been in recession while Pluto has been in Capricorn. Think about how many times the United States has funded a war that we weren't even a part of while Pluto was in Capricorn. Think about how things were governed with, we had the first Black president come into office in 2008. First Black president of the United States came into office in 2008, right? Was there for 8 years. The first 8 years of Pluto in Capricorn was, so that was that was change. That was something. And he came in, I mean, what was his slogan? It was like it was change or something like that. I don't even remember. That feels like 6 lifetimes ago. It really does. We've had another celebrity president come into office after that. And and that's the thing, is it's almost as if, and I'm not a political person, So I could get total backlash from the things that I'm saying, you know, what, and honestly, like, I honestly don't care. Like, if people want to backlash me for the things that I'm saying or tell me that I'm not a patriot or what, I'm not, right? Like, I don't care. Like, whatever. I was born in this country. Hasn't really done a whole lot for me. So, like, whatever. But it's become a farce, basically, is what I'm, you know, Pluto and Capricorn, and it was already getting there, like, you know, even before that, when Pluto was in Sagittarius and we had this really cool, you know, president in office, you know, during the Clinton era, right? Like, that was during Pluto, and that was at the very beginning of Pluto in Sagittarius, was the Clinton era. So it was, you know, and it was actually the end of Pluto in Scorpio and the beginning of Pluto in Sagittarius. So, you know, the when we shift into a new Pluto era, which is really what's happening, that, you know, we are, you know, people talk about the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is not astrological, it's astronomy, not astrology, it's astronomy. And so, you know, I let the astronomers hang on to the age of Aquarius things. Things are definitely starting to change, though. Things are definitely going to be shifting, especially next year in 2025. I'll show you how all the generational planets, all the outer planets, how they're shifting and what that's going to look like and what that really means for everything. This is really a preparatory year. And this Pluto in Aquarius final dip back into Capricorn in, you know, mid-year, and then planting itself in Aquarius finally in November, we're going to see a lot of technological changes with Pluto in Aquarius in the next 20 years. I would not be surprised if social media changed vastly in very, very big, huge ways. I would not be surprised at the way that we start to teach children how that's going to change, because AI is a thing now, artificial intelligence, and AI became a really big thing in 2023, earlier this year in 2023, when Pluto ingressed Aquarius for the first time in January of 2023. And so now Pluto's doing it again for the second time. But AI became really, really big this year. And artists became very upset about it because now AI is taking away from artists. But the really interesting thing is like, my partner, Henry, he's an artist. He's Venus in Aquarius, and he's a fifth house Venus in Aquarius. And so he's very, very artistic, but his artistry is not the same as, like, you wouldn't look at a painting of his or a mural of his and be like, oh, well, that's just the prettiest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's unique and it is beautiful, right? But it's not like flowery and soft, and it, you know, it has this power and it has like hard edges and it's edgy. That's what it is. It's very edgy and it's, you know, out of the box, which is what Aquarius is, right? Aquarius is not going to be the same as everybody else. It's not going to do the same thing as everybody else. So I know that you know, public schooling is going to change because kids are going to be able to use Chat GPI to give them the answers to things. Nobody's going to learn anything. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Idiocracy before. I have been trying to stay away from that movie for years because I just like, I don't want to watch a movie about something that I live in every single day, that I know about every single day, that's like this big, long, drawn out obnoxiousness, right? And finally I watched it this year, and it is literally exactly what I'm talking about right now with this this AI bullshit, right? This stuff, because people they're just getting dumber, right? People are not getting smarter. We're, you know, and that frightens me, right? That frightens me for the future doctors. Like, are they going to get the same kind of education? You know, I was talking to I've said this to several people, but like, you know, I'm not a fan of the boomer generation, like the next, right? Like, I'm from Gen X. I'm actually late Gen X. I'm the very end stages of Gen X, if you will. Pluto in Libra. Gen Xer, and my boomer doctors are amazing, and I'm gonna miss them when they retire, and they are all retiring because it is time for them to retire. But they're retiring, but they're still teaching the younger generation. So I really hope that the younger generations are listening to the boomer doctors, because the boomer doctors are amazing. And then I get Gen X doctors, and I feel like the Gen X doctors don't want to listen to me, and they just want to know it all. They just want to think that they know it all, and they don't want to listen to me. And so I feel like all of that humanitarian and social changes, things like the medical changes, need to happen. I'm seeing that, like, I'm on the front lines of that. I see that every single day, because I have cancer, so I have to deal with the medical community all the time. And I tell everybody all the time, I'm like, I know that I'm still a very passive aggressive person to the medical community sometimes, because like I hold on to that to speak up for myself, because people don't listen to me about things sometimes. So I understand where the changes, the social changes, need to happen. And the humanitarian, just on a one-on-one humanitarian level, there's this destruction that's going on. Like we are not looking out for each other anymore. We do not look out for each other anymore. And I could shout this stuff from the rooftops every single day, and not one damn person would hear me, because we're all so stuck in this whole victim mindset, which is a big Neptune and Pisces thing. And now we have Saturn there in Pisces with Neptune, and we're going to talk about that a little bit down the road. But having that Saturn and Neptune, having that Neptune presence. Neptune has been in Pisces since 2012. And wherever Neptune is transiting in your chart, you've probably seen a lot of loss, and you've seen a lot of spiritual gain where that loss was. But if you're only looking at the loss and you're not looking at the spiritual gain, you're going to feel a victim mentality. And a lot of people are living in that victim mentality, because Pisces is boundaryless, right? When a Pisces incarnates with the prime lesson of learning how to have boundaries with people, because they are boundless beings. They don't have boundaries with people, and they can feel everything, right? They're the 12th zodiac sign. They can feel all the other signs that have come before them. So, being, having that Neptune in Pisces with that Saturn in Pisces, there's this reality versus illusion. And having Saturn in Pisces now, we've had it there since March of 2023. Early March of 2023 is when Saturn ingressed Pisces. And since then, there have been a lot of scamming things coming up, right? Like the twin flame universe people, the escaping twin flame universe people, but there's a lot of like false gurus that are coming up with this Saturn in Pisces. And so people are also having to really look at the reality of how they play victim in their life as well, and how they victimize other people. And Saturn's not going to play with that, right? So that all plays in with this humanitarian stuff that's going on, and how people we don't look out for each other anymore. We don't have community anymore. And Aquarius is about community. Aquarius likes to be alone. Aquarius is a very detached, an emotionally and outwardly emotionally detached sign, because they feel very, very deeply. They just feel it in a different kind of way. They don't feel it in like the hearts and the bunnies and all of that. They feel it in the very real. Like I'm a Virgo, and I'm a hard Virgo. I'm a 12th house Saturn Virgo. I'm a Venus in Virgo in the 12th house. Like I'm a hard Virgo. And being a hard Virgo actually showed me how to love better and be softer too. And that's what I mean by an Aquarius, right? Like Aquarians can be very, very detached and very, very cold if they need to be, in order to survive. They're ruled by Saturn, and they're ruled by Uranus. And you know, they're going to do what they have to do. They're innovative and they're going to do it. And when you're ruled by Saturn and Uranus, it's like, you know what the reality of situations are, and you're going to do everything possible in order to make that happen. Aquarians are like, they're insane entrepreneurs. I don't know if you've ever met an Aquarius that owns their own business, but they don't just own one business, they own like 5. And it's very Capricorn-esque as well. But their businesses are usually more on the technical side or more on the like advanced things kind of side. Visionary, right? Very visionary future. We talk about, you know, we talked about the humanitarian and the social changes, the visionary future, the power to the people. You know, I don't know what the revolution's going to look like. I don't know what those huge, massive visionary changes are going to be. Maybe we're going to have flying cars by the time, you know, with Jupiter and Gemini in 2026 or 2025. I mean, anything is really possible, you guys. As we get into like, as we get closer to 2025, anything is really possible. And the fact that we have the electric cars already, you know, I would not be surprised that Tesla came up with a flying car. I would not be surprised. Back to the Future was right, only 10 years early, right? They thought that we would be that advanced by 2015 when really it's happening by 2025 instead. You know, I would not be surprised about the car thing. I would not be surprised if they found new ways to help people. And we'll talk about this more about with Uranus and Jupiter and Taurus. We'll talk about this in a minute more, but growing food. There's going to be visionary ways for people to survive differently, and could become very dystopian, right? Like if you think about what the American Revolution did, where, you know, it separated America from Britain. The French Revolution separated French from Britain. The Industrial Revolution built America up, right? As did the American Revolution, you know, but then there's, let's see, where is this? There was something that I was looking at about the Civil War too. It started in like 1860. I might have, I didn't write it in anyway. So, but it's about, oh, it's for 2025. It's for 2025 stuff, the Civil War business. But yeah, so Pluto in Aquarius is, it is going to be a big change, and things are, you know, things are going to start looking very different. You know, cryptocurrency is probably going to be a big thing, to be quite honest. I do think that money is going to start looking a lot. I think that financials, because humanity has to change, the finances are just going to go along with that too. You know, the housing stuff and all of that, like all of that is going to be, and there's already a focus that's happening. Like I can see it especially in the more progressive, you know, cities where like you see Denver. You know, I live in Colorado, so I see a lot of Colorado news, but in Denver, they're doing a lot of, you know, homeless housing up there. You know, I think by the end of last year, the new mayor wanted to have at least 1,000 homeless people housed by the end of the year. And I don't know if he got there or not, but those are those kind of initiatives we're going to be seeing more of with Pluto and Aquarius, because, you know, we just haven't been taking care of each other very much. And, you know, guys, but on the other side is, you know, humanity might destroy each other first. We honestly, like, I'm not trying to fear, and I'm not one of those astrologers that wants to put fear into anybody. I'm just going to be real with you. Because humanity has a way of doing, think about Noah's Ark, right? Like, I know that not everybody believes in the Bible, and I know that it's so silly to think that God made it rain for, I don't even know how many days, 45 days. I haven't read the Bible in so long. What is Noah's Ark? Anyways, so God made it rain, and Noah had to put all the animals and all of that. But why did God do that? Remember, like, I'm not here to preach to you guys. I'm not gonna do that. But you remember the story, God did that because humanity needed a reset. And God saw that, right? And I feel like that's the kind of feeling. And that doesn't mean that there's going to be a massive flood. There could be. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think that Pluto in Aquarius is going to help it along. And then Pluto in Pisces is probably going to put a big old fat stamp on it, because it's almost like a whole cycle of humanity has to end and change and end by the end of Pluto in Pisces. And then we get that restart and that 1 degree of Pluto in Aquarius. That's 40 years away. Pluto in Aries is 40 years away. Okay. I don't even know if that's correct. It's at least 4 decades away from here. So we're not going to talk about Pluto in Aries, but it's not that the planet Pluto is destroying people. It's that people have gotten to a point to where they're just destroying each other. And Pluto in Aquarius is just going to put a big old fat exclamation point on it and be like, see, the truth shall set you free. And you'll be able to see it. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, Chiron conjunct the Aries North Node. So Chiron, the wounded healer, has been in Aries since 2018 to 2027. So Chiron will be in Aries until 2027 for good. We'll begin to go into Taurus in 2026, but we'll hit Taurus for good in 2027. The Aries North Node has been in Aries. The North Node has been in Aries since July of 2023 and will be there all year long this year until January of 2025. So Chiron, the wounded healer, will be conjunct the North Node at 16 degrees in February. And honestly, I think it's going to be like the entire month of February really is that we're going to be feeling this. And I do think that this is going to be on a mass collective level of healing. And so let's kind of break that down a little bit. So Aries is the I am, right? It's the first zodiac sign. And its ruler is Mars, the planet ruler is Mars. And it represents, it can represent hostility and anger and war and aggression, all the things that are it's very manly and it can often, be also very obsessive about things as well. And so having the North Node be in Aries and the South Node has been in Libra, the opposite of Aries. So if Aries is the first house in the chart, Libra is the 7th house. And so Aries is the I am and Libra is the relationships that we're in. So when we look at that and we say the North Node is that place where my soul is pulling me, like these are the lessons that I'm meant to be learning in this lifetime. And the South Node is where I feel comfortable. So if you feel, we're in that Libra comfort zone of just being in relationships where we just get along all the time and there's always harmony because we don't ever want to get in fights. We don't stand up for ourselves. We don't ever say anything that we need to have in relationships. And then Aries comes along and says, no, that's not how relationships actually work. Because if you were just a Libra and you didn't have a sense of self and you just did whatever the other person wanted to do in the relationships, eventually you're going to realize, holy crap, I've completely lost myself in this person. And so Aries comes along and gives you an identity. And when we have Chiron, the wounded healer, Chiron, the wounded healer, where we have it natally, this is where we have our deepest wound in our natal charts. And the more that deep wound is triggered and the more we see from that deep wound how we've been harmed and how we've had trauma from it, and everybody has it. Nobody is without the deep wound. But the more we learn about it and the more we learn about ourselves from it, and the more that we process the wound and we see ourselves, we transmute the energy, right? That's what Chiron is all about. It's about transmuting from the darkness into the light. He kept going no matter what, even when he was being murdered. He kept going no matter what. So we gain power. We gain power from the wound, and it's where we can see ourselves and our gifts. There's a lot of gifts that come from Chiron, and there's a lot of power that can come from Chiron, as long as we're willing to see how to process through all the trauma. It's almost as if all of those gifts are sort of hidden by the trauma and the wounding. So having Chiron conjunct the North Node, those lessons of these traumas that we've had in standing up for ourselves. And it's going to be very interesting because February is the month where we have Valentine's Day, which I'm not really a big fan of Valentine's Day. It's not that I don't hate it. I'm just not going to go spend a whole bunch of money. Like Henry and I, we have Valentine's Day every day. Like that's the way that I see our life. So I'm not going to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on it. I did get this from him though, because he loves me so much. Got my first Valentine's from, I'm like, I'm not going to go spend money on him, but he just saw it and thought of me. So, but having Chiron conjunct the North Node for the entirety of February feels like there will be a lot of collective healing happening. So a lot of wounds will be triggered. I think people will be on the defense when it comes to that Aries energy. There's going to be a lot of defensiveness. Relationships that are not meant to last aren't going to. I think a lot of people are kind of in situationships right now. There was a point in 2023 where if your situationship kept on lasting, then you still had a few more lessons to learn. And then this Chiron conjunct North Node is going to take care of the rest of the situationships that were not completely, X'd out, back then. What else? So yeah, there's just going to be this really like a massive healing. I would suggest doing a lot of grounding in February for sure. Eclipse seasons. All right. So we have, of course, 2 eclipse seasons every year. They're 6 months apart usually. The first eclipse that we're going to be seeing is on March 25th. That's going to be an annular Libra lunar eclipse. It'll be total. I believe you're going to be able to see it in Ohio completely, but I think everybody's going to be able to see it. I don't personally like to watch eclipses just because my ancestors were not big. Eclipse season is about wrapping up cycles and cleaning up things and staying present in the moment, and just allowing yourself to flow with the energy and not getting distracted by the pretty shiny object in the sky. That's really honestly, that's what my ancestors believe. So we have one on March 25th. And then we have the April 8th total Aries solar eclipse. And this will also be conjunct the Aries Chiron that we were just talking about, that is also conjunct the North Node all of February. The eclipse will be happening with the Chiron, and then we'll have the Devil's Comet visible during that eclipse as well. This is going to be during the daytime, and I think that actually this is the one I think that you can see in Ohio. This April 8th one is the one that you can see in Ohio during the day. It's not the same as the Great American Eclipse that we saw in August of 2017, but it's going to be, will act the same way. It'll be similar in that way. The Devil's Comet is going to be close to Jupiter during this eclipse. And so when the sky is going to be completely black during the day, you're going to be able to see the planets and stuff. Maybe get your binoculars out, get your telescope out. You'll be able to see the Devil's Comet with Jupiter close to where that eclipse, that solar eclipse, is happening. You can see the Devil's Comet again on April 12th, I think, maybe at night is when you're going to be able to see that one. We have another. So these next 2 are super moons, the September 18th Wait a second. Is that the supermoon? Well, I think the September 18th and October 2nd. No, the September 18th and October 15th. Those are, or 17th. Those are the supermoons. We have 4 supermoons at the end of the year. And we'll go through that when we go through each of the months. So we'll get that exact answer for you, I promise, when the supermoons are. September 18th will be a partial Pisces lunar eclipse. And then on October 2nd, we will have an annular Libra total solar eclipse as well. There's supposed to be another comet that's happening in October around this eclipse, but I don't think it's going to be as visible. When I looked at the astronomy page, they said the Devil's Comet's going to be, but they don't know much about this comet. I don't even remember the name of it. I didn't even bother to like see the name of that one. So that's eclipse season. And this one, Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus. So Jupiter will be conjunct Uranus in Taurus from April 12th to May 3rd. That's going to be like within the 5-degree orb. During Jupiter conjunct Uranus, there will be some sudden discoveries happening, some expansion, some changes with Taurian themes. So if we think about Taurian themes, they would be luxury Venetian themes. Taurians just like Taurians are gorgeous. So I would see like new innovations when it comes to makeup, new innovations when it comes to food, like easy access. You know how they are doing like easy access to luxury items, getting like purses, like luxury purse items. And they have, you know, like even during the pandemic, I noticed with Uranus and Taurus, I noticed this right away that like the easy food thing. So like the air fryer, it's like healthier for you to use, but it's easier to use. And they did like a, you know, just other things, like just really easy food items happened when Uranus came in, you know, like popped into Taurus. That was in 2018. And Uranus will be in Taurus until 2025 as well. Then Uranus will be in Gemini. That's going to be a game changer. That's like superpower central. Can't wait. That's like superheroes. Like the babies that are born with Uranus and Gemini, whew, those are going to be incredible babies. But so easy access to luxury items, you know, the fast clothing stuff, so like the Sheins and the Adore Me's and, you know, just like those fast clothes that you know, we're going into thrift stores these days and the clothes are not made as well as they used to be, but they're more expensive in thrift stores even to purchase than when they are like regular. Like I saw a Shein item that you would probably buy for $4.99 and it was like $7.99 at the thrift store. Ridiculous. Like it's very strange. You know, you can't, like clothing is just not made, nothing is really made the way that it's used to, but it's like everybody wants things faster and bigger and better and not stronger, right? They wanted it more in mass and it's not stronger. I also think that cryptocurrency is going to make another really big comeback with Jupiter conjunct Uranus and Taurus. I think that a lot of the quote unquote mistakes that were made in the beginning of cryptocurrency have sort of smoothed over. I think that money, the cash dollar, the US dollar, the, you know, whatever, the pound, I think that that stuff is going to be slowly fading through Pluto and Aquarius. I really do. Like God's honest truth, I really do. And I think that a new kind of currency is going to be coming out, and I think cryptocurrency is going to be a part of that. Growing indoor vegetables and fruits more often, I think it's going to become more of a thing. There's a name for it, and my brain cannot find that stupid name. I know that hydroponics is one of them, but there's another, vertical farming. That's what it was. Vertical farming. So I think that, and I have a friend actually who's a Taurus moon. She works with, well, she really wants to work with vertical farming stuff, but that's one of the things that I think is really going to kind of start ramping up with Jupiter conjunct Uranus and Taurus in the springtime. I think there's going to be more talk about vertical farming and hydroponics, and we can already see, like, I really want to get one of those tall, and I don't know if anyone has one, but there's like, you can grow your vegetables in your kitchen. You can grow like tomatoes and stuff. And, but I don't, is that healthy? I don't, is it, how processed is that? Is that healthy? Like, I need to answer that, but I don't, I live in an apartment, so I can't naturally grow my own vegetables, but it'd be great to have fresh vegetables and fresh fruits whenever I wanted. So Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus. We will also see Jupiter sextile Neptune in May. Now, May has some really spiritual energy. Like, there's this Jupiter sextile Neptune. But there was this other thing that was happening. I think that it might have been, I think it was the Jupiter and the Uranus conjunction thing, but Jupiter sextile Neptune in May, and it's going to really be the majority of May. That's why I just put May 2024. This is really going to be bringing a lot of empathy back into the world. I think that this is going to be another year of people waking up, because next year is a huge generation shift, like a whole brand new era. There's a lot of stuff that's going to break down. This year is preparation for a whole brand new shift into a whole brand new era. And so this year, there are some things that are going to be breaking down to make room for expansion and new things coming in. But with Jupiter sextile Neptune, this is going to be bringing some empathy back into the world. There's going to be a lot of expansion in spiritual pursuits. This can also create big spiritual narcissism, because Jupiter sextile Neptune, like, it really makes you, it just is really kind of expanding on, working with your connection to source. So if you have one of those egos that is not grounded at all, and you haven't done a whole lot of shadow work, and you haven't really looked at the reality parts of who you are, and you just think that you're this great, fantastic being and you can do no wrong, like, this is going to be one of those things that can really make those kinds of egos soar in big ways. So while everybody's sort of gaining some extra empathy with this transit, this Jupiter sextile Neptune transit, there's also discernment that's absolutely needed, and a grounding force, and making sure that you're in reality. Now, those people that really let themselves be grounded, and even have people in their lives that can look at them like straight up and be like, dude, you're being stupid right now. Like, don't act like a fool. Like, don't get taken. If you have people in your life like you'll be safe, or if you're already a pretty grounded person. But this is going to bring a lot of that spiritual narcissism. It's going to be something that brings it like front and center. And so just kind of pay attention to that for yourself too. But there's a lot that can come out of this Jupiter sextile Neptune in a really big way. With this Jupiter sextile Neptune, there's so much manifesting that can happen. And so if you're grounded in your life, and you have a good grounded connection to source, and you're able to recognize reality from illusion, right? Then this can be a really great time for you to manifest some pretty big things into your life for the coming years for you, like for future advances too. It may not happen right away, like exactly right away, but also for future advances too. Jupiter in Gemini. So Jupiter will be ingressing Gemini May 25th, 2024, and will be in Gemini until June 9th, 2025. Some of the pretty big transits that we're going to see with Jupiter and Gemini, we'll see Jupiter trine Pluto in Aquarius in May and June. So like almost exactly with Aquarius, with Pluto being in Aquarius, we will see Jupiter trine Pluto. And this can really increase the power and influence that you have on other people. So like really not acting selfish in a big way. But Jupiter and Gemini, Gemini is communication. Gemini is also, is extremely intelligent. And, there's a lot, this is where I feel like we may start seeing some more advancement when it comes with the car stuff, with cars, with Jupiter and Gemini, and then Uranus and Gemini as well, in 2026. But Jupiter trine Pluto, just be careful of not, being selfish. Sometimes with Jupiter and trine Pluto, you really want to be there to like help other people, but also you want to be there to get ahead for yourself. It's really easy to manipulate people with Jupiter trine Pluto. And just, everybody's going to have this like boost of power and ego with that Jupiter and Gemini trine Pluto transit. That's going to be a very interesting one. And that's what I mean. That's why I want everybody to really look at it, especially because we'll have that Jupiter sextile Neptune as well in May. And there's just going to be some ego battles that are going to be happening in some pretty big ways with Jupiter in May. Some pretty big ego battles. Then we have Jupiter in Gemini will square Saturn in Pisces in August and again in December. Jupiter square Saturn, you could see some financial hardships. We could see some structures break down with it. You could find that with Jupiter square Saturn, that if you are a little bit too overindulgent with something, Saturn is going to like rip you by the collar and pull you back and be like, nah, you can't be overindulgent. Wherever Jupiter in Gemini is transiting, and wherever Saturn in Pisces is transiting, you may find a restriction in any kind of expansiveness happening in your life. And then we have Jupiter sextile Chiron in Aries, which will be about 3 months long, September 3rd to December 3rd. It'll be exact on October 12th and exact on November 2nd. So Jupiter sextile Chiron is kind of like a subtle uplifting energy. I think everybody's going to kind of be treating everybody a little bit nicer. We're really sort of freeing ourselves from a negative attitude and a more, more positive, I can get this done sort of attitude. And like we're working on wanting to heal. And the more we work on wanting to heal, the more we can expand ourselves and find our gifts as well. There's a lot of hidden gifts when we find, especially because there's going to be a retrograde during that Jupiter sextile Chiron. There's going to be a retrograde. And it's going to come after a time, right? After, with this August and December, it's going to come after a time and during a time of some hardship, of maybe some financial hardship, maybe some just really not feeling so good about yourself. And so this, this Jupiter sextile Chiron can really help us see those triggers and be able to change them in better ways. And we have Mars retrograde in Leo and Cancer. So this is a pretty big retrograde. We did not have a Mars retrograde in 2023, but we did have a Venus in Leo retrograde in 2023. Now, this Mars in Leo retrograde and that Venus in Leo retrograde, they're not going to be crossing paths yet. I think that down the road, we'll see that a little bit more But this time around, we have Mars will be in Leo from November 3rd until January 6th. Mars retrogrades in Leo, and on December 6th, and will station direct February 23rd, 2025 in Cancer. So with Mars in Leo, we will see the presidential election on November 7th. And with that happening, I think that it's going to be I think it's going to be quite the blowout. I didn't put together the charts for this, and I kind of am kicking myself a little bit now. Like, I really wish that I could just show you what that chart looks like and know exactly what that chart looks like now. But I think that it's going to be a big surprise. And Mars in Leo has the kind of attitude where they are the leader and they're number one. And so, this race to the presidency, Mars in Cancer is going to be a very passive aggressive race, like end of the race to this presidency this year. And then we're going to have that same Leo Mars retrograde on January 1st will be opposite the moon conjunct Pluto. So there's going to be some pretty explosive and kind of like look at me in a big way. Also, I kind of feel like the relationships that went through some struggles with that Venus in Leo retrograde. I think with this Mars retrograde in Leo, I think that you're going to be finding that you're going to have to take some action in your relationships as well. Even though it's not going to be the same degrees, we're still going to be feeling sort of the same kind of energy in a more physical kind of way, and not necessarily emotional, but more of a physical kind of way. So now we're going to talk about the planets. Or the months. Give me 1 second. Be right back. Hi guys, I'm back. Just a reminder that you can get your monthly rising sign astrology on the Love and Science Patreon. That information is in the description box. So just FYI. So let's take a look at the months. So January, we're already in mid-January. For those of you that don't know, I had surgery early January, and there was no way that I was going to be able to get this out before January. So next year, I'm going to try and do better. My goal is to get it out mid-December. So here's hoping. So January 1st, we had Mercury direct in Sagittarius at 22 degrees. The really cool thing is we will have Mercury station retrograde in Sagittarius at 22 degrees and 40 seconds at the end of this year, 2024. So I'll show you that. It's a very interesting circle there, the story. January 4th, we had Mars in Capricorn. Love this ambition energy. Feels really good. Capricorn new moon. Felt kind of funky, but new things are coming. New possibilities are coming. January 13th was yesterday. Mercury ingressed Capricorn. And January 20th, we have the Sun conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. January 20th, we have the Sun in Aquarius, and January 20th, we have Pluto ingressing Aquarius. So it's going to be a pretty intense day, probably the biggest energy day of the year. This week right now, like as I'm talking to you guys, we're leading up to that 20th because I'm doing this on January 14th. And the moon transits. We have the Aries moon, and then we have the Taurus moon transit. The moon transits leading up to the Sun conjunct Pluto in Capricorn at 29 degrees, and the Pluto ingressing Aquarius and all of that. It's sort of like a ramping up of energy that's happening. So be careful. Don't argue with people. Venus in Capricorn on January 23rd. We have a Leo full moon on January 25th, which is actually going to feel kind of funky. And January 27th, we have Uranus direct in Taurus. With all of the Capricorn energy in January and all of the Taurus energy with that Uranus and Jupiter, there's a lot of like Mercury, Venus, and Mars are all trine Uranus or trine Jupiter or trine, you know. And so there's a lot of Wheel of Fortune energy that I feel like is happening. I feel like there are a lot of little details of life that are getting like put in motion for the future, right? To get going on the future and to being catapulting on the future and get moving in on the future. So all of these January rising sign energies are up on Patreon right now for your rising and sun sign for the astrology. And I get really in depth every month for the astrology. They're, you know, they're usually like 15-minute long videos, pretty in depth. February, hearts. So all of February, we will see Chiron conjunct the Aries North Node. We talked about what that's going to look like and how that is going to really help the collective to heal for themselves, stand up for themselves, be advocates for themselves. But we may find relationships not coming together, but being broken up during that Chiron conjunct Aries, because people are going to find that they just don't want to be the victim anymore. They just don't want to be the victim anymore. They just don't want to be the victim anymore. February 4th, we have Mercury in Aquarius. Mercury loves being in Aquarius. Then we have that Aquarius new moon on February 9th and Mars in Aquarius on February 13th. Mars will conjoin Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius on February 13th. So that's going to be sort of an aggressive day. The day before Valentine's Day is going to be a super aggressive day. February 16th, we have Venus in Aquarius. And then February 16th, we have Venus conjunct Pluto. And so, yeah, the Valentine's Day vibe this year is going to be really weird. And it's going to be a little bit more aggressive, I feel like, than it is going to be sweet. I feel like it's just going to be, I sort of feel like everybody's going to kind of boycott. I think this feels like Aquarius energy feels very much like protesting and boycotting and a lot of that. So there might be a lot of that this year with the protesting and the boycotting. February 19th, we have the sun in Pisces. We have the Venus-Mars conjunction on February 22nd that will be visible in the sky at night. Make sure that you watch that. February 22nd, Mercury in Pisces. Mercury does not love being in Pisces. However, every Mercury in Pisces person I know is like so super intelligent, and you must shut up and listen to what they have to say. I'm just saying. I'm just saying Mercury in Pisces people should be tolerated more. They're just lovely. One of my closest friends is a Mercury in Pisces. She's awesome. February 24th, we have the Virgo full moon. And then on February 28th, we have the Pisces Mercury cazimi, and the sun conjunct Pisces in Saturn on February 28th. So the sun conjunct Saturn, I mean, it happens every year, but with that Pisces Mercury cazimi, I just sort of feel like everybody is going to be kind of confused on the last day of February. But it's so February 29th, this is a leap year too, right? We have that leap year going on this year. March. March 9th. March is going to be a really interesting month because we have our first eclipse in March, just after Aries season begins. So Mercury is in Aries on March 9th, and Pisces new moon on March 10th, and Venus in Pisces on March 11th. You know, what's funny is I didn't put any of the other Mercury pre-shadows on here, just this one. And I'm not really sure why I did this one, but I didn't do anybody else's. But Mercury retrograde will begin the pre-shadow at 15 degrees on March 18th. I don't know if I just felt like March was lacking in flavor or something and needed a little extra, but there we have it. We have March 19th, the sun in Aries, and then the Libra lunar eclipse on March 22nd. So we begin eclipse season March 22nd this year with the Libra lunar eclipse at 5 degrees. And it's going to be an annular eclipse, which means it'll be total. So it'll be completely dark. Eclipses are full moons, and the earth just goes in between and hides it, and there's the shadow. The nodes are the shadow of the moon, and wherever the nodes are, that's where we find our eclipses. So we have the Libra lunar eclipse here. It's interesting because we will have an Aries eclipse as well, but we'll have one in Pisces too, because the Pisces full moon will be closer to the north node than the Aries full moon will be. New moon, Pisces new moon. Is it the full moon or the new moon? I think it's the new moon. I don't remember. Full moon. It's the one that's in September. All right. April. So April Fools love that Mercury is stationing retrograde in Aries of all signs and all places on April 1st, April Fool's Day. Venus in Aries on April 5th. I really think that April is actually going to be one of those months that changes a lot of things in our lives. We have the Aries solar eclipse at 19 degrees. Chiron will be conjunct that eclipse on April 8th, and we'll also be able to see the Devil's Comet that will also be visible during that eclipse. And that's going to be one of those eclipses that you can see. I think that you can see it completely in Ohio. I think people have like already booked to be able to go see that. It's kind of like the one on August 17th. So or August 2017. So that everybody's pretty excited about that one. April 11th, we'll have a Mercury retrograde cazimi in Aries. That's where Mercury conjoins the sun. And April 12th to May 3rd, we'll have the Jupiter conjunct Uranus. We talked about the big expansion and changes that could happen, some sudden changes, sudden discoveries could come about. And April 19th, we have the sun in Taurus. April 25th, Mercury stations direct in Aries at 15 degrees Aries. And April 29th, we have Venus at home in Taurus. And we have April 30th, we have Mars at home in Aries. So those two planets love being at home. So something big is happening in April. I really, I'm not one of those astrologers that talks about like mundane. Obviously, you guys can tell I don't really do this a lot. Talk about like mundane, everyday astrology where wars are going to happen or presidential elections or, political things are happening or, this. I don't know why. I don't really pay attention to a lot of that stuff anyway. So I just don't really want to talk about it. I like to talk about how the astrology is going to affect you in your own personal life more, or how it's going to affect the collective energy more, because, I understand that those things that are also happening in the world affect us and we need to pay attention to it. I'm just not the astrologer that's paying attention to those things and all of that stuff. So I think April is going to bring a lot of changes in the collective. I also think a lot of political changes are going to be made as well. I think that that solar eclipse is going to be quite explosive. So it'll be interesting to see what April's energy brings, for sure, in the mundane. May, we have Pluto stationing retrograde at 2 degrees on May 2nd. On May 3rd, we have Neptune at that 29 degrees of Pisces. Neptune will ingress Aries in March of 2025. So we're keeping an eye on Neptune. I'm so tired of Neptune in Pisces. Like, I'm really ready. Neptune belongs in Pisces. Neptune is at home in Pisces, and I understand that, and that's great and wonderful for Neptune in Pisces, and that's great. But I really am wanting people to see the reality of things again, and I'm really glad that Saturn in Pisces is helping that. We have on May 7th, we have a Taurus new moon. May 15th, we have Mercury in Taurus. May 18th, we have the Sun conjunct Jupiter. Sun conjunct Jupiter is a beautiful manifestation day. On May 20th, we have the Sun in Gemini. May 12th to the 26th, we have Jupiter sextile Neptune. And we talked about that a little bit, about how Jupiter sextile Neptune can really be great manifestation energy. I think May is going to feel really spiritual. I think it's going to feel very open and enlightening. I think that a lot of people aren't going to be able to handle that energy, and they're going to feel more of a heaviness or a loss in some way. But I feel like there's like this uplifting energy that happens in May after kind of not so uplifting energy for the beginning of the year. We have the Sagittarius full moon on May 23rd, with Venus ingressing Gemini also on May 23rd. And we have Jupiter in Gemini on May 25th. Going to love Jupiter in Gemini. I'm excited for that. And then May 30th to June 2nd, we have Jupiter trine Pluto retrograde. And so, Jupiter is newly in Gemini, and Pluto is in Aquarius, now retrograde. And so there's that possibility of, really wanting to be manipulative, I think. And this is a year of the presidential election. And so I think that people are going to I think that there's going to be a division. It feels like already feels like there's going to be a division with that Jupiter trine Pluto with the people. I almost want to say that in a way, it's almost like the government is trying to do that in a way. Like, I hate to say it that way, but I feel like the government's trying to divide the people. June, we have Mercury in Gemini on June 3rd, and June 4th, we have a Venus cazimi in Gemini. We also have on the 6th, we have Gemini new moon, Mars in Taurus on June 9th. June 10th through June 12th, we'll have Mars square Pluto. So the middle of June is going to be kind of explosive. I say kind of gently, even though it's going to be very explosive, and not just kind of, but a lot. But here we are with Mars in Taurus. It's like a bull in the China shop in a really, really big way. And it's square Pluto retrograde. June 14th, we have a Mercury cazimi in Gemini, it looks like. June 17th, we have Venus in Cancer. June 17th, we also have Mercury in Cancer. June 20th, we have the Sun in Cancer. June 21st, we have the Capricorn full moon. And June 29th, we have Saturn stationing retrograde at 19 degrees Pisces. So June is going to be pretty sizzly. There's a lot that's going on this year. Like I said, that there's a lot of preparations and endings and closures and clearing things out and whatever it is that we're preparing for coming up for next year. Next year is where the big, massive shift into a new era happens and change happens. So June's going to be one of those months like I think there's going to be like some consecutive changes and endings happening every month this year. Everybody's like, I'm exhausted, no more changes. I'm tired. I know, guys, I get it. Make sure you're taking screenshots of these if you need to go back through the chapters and look again and take screenshots of these. You can do that. July, we have Mercury in Leo on the 2nd of July. We also have Neptune station retrograde at 29 degrees on July 2nd as well. So when Neptune is retrograde, the veil is lifted. And so there's so much more reality that's seen. So from July until I forgot, Neptune goes direct, I believe, in December. So July until December, there's revelation. The veil is just you can see through everything. You can see everything for what it is. July 5th, we have the Cancer new moon. July 11th, we have Venus in Leo. Venus in Leo was retrograde last year. We will not have a Venus retrograde this year. July 21st, we have the Capricorn full moon. This is going to be a second Capricorn full moon, blue moon. We call those a blue moon. On the 22nd, we have the sun in Leo. On the 25th, we have Mercury in Virgo, and the 26th, we have Chiron stationing retrograde. When Chiron stations retrograde, he's retrograde for about 4 or 5 months. He'll go direct in January of 2025. But when we have Chiron retrograde, we're really having to look at the things that we want to change about ourselves almost in a deeper sort of way so that we can become who we want to become. August 4th, we have the Leo new moon. And we have Venus in Virgo, and we have Mercury stationing retrograde in Virgo on August 4th. There's also a Perseids meteor shower. I always have a hard time saying that word. Perseids meteor shower. Happens every summer. That's supposed to say every summer, not very summer. It's supposed to say every summer. This one happens on August 12th. August 14th, we have Mercury regress back to Leo during this retrograde. On August 13th to the 25th, we have Jupiter square Saturn retrograde, and this will be exact on August 19th. On August 18th, we have a Mercury cazimi at 26 degrees Leo. On August 19th, we have Aquarius full moon. This is one of 4 super moons that we have towards the end of the year. The Aquarius full moon is the first one. This is just where the moon is like extra big. It's just closer to Earth. So it looks extra big. August 22nd, sun in Virgo, begins Virgo season. And August 28th, we have Mercury direct at 21 degrees Leo. And then August 29th, we have Venus in Libra. So Venus is at home in Libra. And Venus only gets a really quick taste of being in Virgo before going back to Leo. September, we have Pluto regressing back to Capricorn on September 1st and Uranus station retrograde in Taurus until January 30th. The Virgo new moon on September 2nd, September 3rd to December 3rd, we have Jupiter sextile Chiron retrograde. And I really feel like people are going to start working on, like, there's a lot of groups that are going to start working on wanting to come together and expanding that healing and wanting to, like, there's going to be more empathy. And I think there's going to be a lot of talk about community and stuff towards the end of the year, like the last quarter of the year. September 4th, we have Mars in Cancer. September 9th, we get Mercury in Virgo again. Now, Mars is in detriment in Cancer, I have to say. And Mars will be retrograde in Cancer, along as it will be in Leo as well. September 18th, the Pisces lunar eclipse we'll be able to see September 18th, and then the sun in Libra on September 22nd. So the second eclipse season is in September and October. Venus will be in Scorpio September 22nd, along with the sun in Libra. Mercury will be in Libra September 26th, and a Mercury cazimi on September 30th in Libra. October, I had to get this little picture because it looks like our cat Khaleesi. So I had to put that one in there. October 2nd, we have the Libra solar eclipse. So that is going to round out the second eclipse season. Libra solar eclipse. That's also a, I believe it's total solar eclipse. That's the one that can be more seen in the southern hemisphere, I believe. October 9th, we have Jupiter stationing retrograde at 21 degrees Gemini until February 4th, 2025. So Jupiter will be retrograde until February. October 11th, we have Pluto stationing direct in Capricorn at 29 degrees and 38. This is the last time Pluto stations direct in Capricorn for 200 and a whole bunch of years, 270 some odd years. October 13th, Mercury ingresses Scorpio. October 13th, we also will have this really scary and aggressive T-square happening. Mars square Chiron retrograde. The sun will be opposite Chiron retrograde, and the sun will be square Mars. So I just feel like this is going to be a day where everybody's going to be angry with each other. Like, if you do not know, you don't have emotional maturity. And it's literally like 4 days before the Aries full moon, super moon. So October is going to be really explosive as well. And, you know, just paying attention to the way, like I told you guys, that humanity is going to start destroying each other. And these are those times, and these are those moments that's going to be happening, you know? So we also have Venus in Sagittarius October 17th. With that Aries full moon, that super moon. And then on October 22nd, we'll have the sun in Scorpio. November, we have the Scorpio new moon on November 1st. We have Mercury in Sagittarius until January 8th because of the retrograde. Now, we just got out of Mercury in Sagittarius. Mercury stationed direct at 22 degrees Sagittarius on January 1st. Okay, so remember that. November 2nd and 3rd, Mars will be opposite Pluto at 29 degrees, 45 seconds Capricorn. November 3rd, Mars will ingress Leo until January 26th, 2025 because of the Mars retrograde in Leo and Cancer. November 11th, Venus ingresses Capricorn. November 15th, we have a Taurus full moon. November 15th, we also have Saturn stationing direct in Pisces. November 19th, we have Pluto in Aquarius for good for the next 20 years until January 19th, 2020 or 2044. And then November 21st, we have the Sun in Sagittarius. November 25th, we have Mercury stationing retrograde at 22 degrees Sagittarius. That's the same degree that Mercury stationed direct on January 1st, 2024. So I want you to think about where Sagittarius is for you in your chart and that story. There's like a cycle there, right? And a story that's happening for you in that area of your life. We have November 30th, the Sagittarius new moon. That's only going to amplify that story in Sagittarius for you. All right, December 2025. 2024. Wow. December 5th, we'll have a Mercury Cazimi in Sagittarius. December 6th, we'll have Mars station retrograde at 6 degrees Leo, direct at 17 degrees Cancer on February 23rd. December 7th, Venus will ingress Aquarius. December 7th, we also will have Neptune direct in Pisces at 27 degrees. December 15th, we have a Gemini full moon. December 15th, we also have Mercury stationing direct in Sagittarius, 6 degrees. And December 21st, the Sun in Capricorn. December 29th, Chiron stations direct in Aries. And December 30th, to round off the year, we'll have the Capricorn new moon ending 2024 for us. And then taking a sneak peek so you can see like everything starts to go direct. We still have Uranus retrograde and Mars retrograde. So kind of a sneak peek for 2025 previews. January 1st actually is going to be a really big kind of explosive sort of day. The moon will be conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, and Mars will be opposite retrograde in Leo at 1 degree. So just starting off 2025 is going to be pretty explosive. January 11th, the Pisces, the North Node will regress back to Pisces, and the South Node will regress back to Virgo for 18 months. March 30th, 2025, the first dip of Neptune in Aries. That's going to be an interesting one to talk about. And May 24th, 2025, we'll see Saturn ingress Aries. June 9th, 2025, we'll see Jupiter in Cancer. July 7th of 2025, we'll see Uranus in Gemini for like 8 years or 6 years, I think, 6 years. And June 19th, 2026, we'll see Chiron in Taurus for about 6 or 7 years. So there we have it. That is 2024 astrology. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I am offering 5 spots, only 5 spots of people who would like to have their astrology read for the year of 2024. So like all of these placements that we talked about, and then any of the personal astrology that you need to know for yourself, and what's going on for your own life. I'm only doing 5 spots. I'm not even going to make the link public. So if you want to contact me, Betsy at fearlessintuition.net. If you're interested in getting that reading, I will be advertising that as well with this video out. And so thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. Take really good care of yourselves. Happy 2024. Bye.